Hi, I'm Megan Cusick, and welcome to another episode of Vehicle Care Rockstars. Building a legacy takes more than just skill. It takes dedication, resilience, and a willingness to carve your own path. Chris Harmon, owner of Harmon Performance Transmission in New Richmond, Wisconsin, is a third-generation transmission builder, following in the footsteps of his father and grandfather. From tearing down transmissions at just 5 years old to forging ahead to create his own company, the trade is in his blood. Even so, stepping out on his own to start his shop wasn't easy. With industry challenges, rising costs, and the pressure to provide a quality build, Chris had to prove that he could not only continue the tradition, but take it to the next level. Speaking of your passion for the industry, how did that come about? Was it based on your family, or how did you grow to have that passion?
So I spent a lot of time working with my dad.
Mm-hmm.
He worked a lot as I was a kid, so I started hanging out with him in the garage, and that was kind of our share bond time that we would spend together.
Yeah.
And along the way, I really like transmissions as far as the challenge.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot different to me to try to figure out a problem and then work through the problem and get the end result. And with transmissions, it's sometimes difficult. So I guess it's kind of about the challenge sometimes.
Okay, very cool.
Yeah.
And so now, did your dad have his own transmission company?
He did.
Okay.
Much later in life, he opened his shop in '96.
Okay.
That first 10 years I spent working with him, we were working, we were in other places, other locations. But the location didn't really make the difference. It was the more father-son bond that
Nice.
And if he didn't do this, I might not be here today.
Yeah.
So, it's definitely kind of guided me down this path.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And so now, was he the first to forge into transmissions, or is this like a family legacy, or?
So I'm actually third generation to do this.
Okay.
My grandpa's first. He started rebuilding transmissions in 1964.
Wow.
And then my dad was in around the early 70s, I think, is when he started.
Okay.
Kind of like they were both around that 18 to 20-year-old mark.
Mm-hmm.
So me, I had to set the bar a little lower. Started washing parts when I was only 5. Got into that more around that 8 to 10-year-old thing,
Mm-hmm.
and then I was able to actually use more of the tools and disassemble on my own.
Mm-hmm.
By 12 years old, I was fully taking transmissions apart, washing them up,
Wow.
prepping them for build.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And when did you fully build? When did you build your first full transmission there?
My very first one was I was 16 years old.
Wow,
Yep.
That's impressive.
And I did it, because I would do sub-assembly rebuilding, so transmissions have different assemblies. So my dad would start me out with the first 3 pieces, do this and this spec. So I kind of just learned it in sections.
Okay.
And taking them apart for so many years, you almost naturally kind of learn how things go back together by the opposite. So
Right.
There's some different procedures there, obviously, but it just made it click a lot easier for me.
Okay. Now, so Harmon Performance Transmission, is that your dad's company? Is that your own? How is the relationship there?
So my grandpa being first generation, he had his own company.
Mm-hmm.
My dad worked for him, and they had some minor differences on how they did things, so they kind of split their ways. My dad started his company.
Okay.
I worked for my dad's company for, my entire childhood.
Right.
I went out and got a different job just to see if I liked other parts of the automotive industry, more of steering, suspension, brakes, all the other stuff. Went back to transmissions. I went to grad school. I went to a technical college, got a degree in everything for automotive, but went
nice.
back and just specialized in transmissions only.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Very cool.
when we were in tech school, I was the only student that knew how to rebuild a transmission.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice. All right. So what prompted you to start your own company then?
So I kind of look at it as like a legacy. So my grandpa had his legacy, right? And his start to finish, retired. My dad kind of had that. And, when he started his own company, I wanted him to kind of be able to do the same thing. He wanted me to take it over.
Okay.
But him and I had differences in certain things on how we did things. So it made it difficult for us to work together as I got older.
Yeah.
So what I kind of did was just slowly branched off into my own, where I was doing more of the performance-based stuff. So I was not
Okay.
trying to compete against my dad.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and he really didn't like the performance side of the business.
Okay.
He was more of the, just the general factory rebuilt transmission
Okay.
practice with updates, making them better.
Right.
So I've kind of gotten into the more of the performance side of things. And for me, so I felt like I wasn't really competing with my dad.
Yeah.
So kind of started out like that, and then it got to a point where I got busy enough to where I was able to just kind of start going on my own.
Yeah.
I started in my garage.
Okay. But yeah, I mean, all the great businesses start there.
Yeah, most definitely. So I started there and just kind of worked my way up. And it wasn't that, I kind of wanted my dad to have his own legacy as far as being able to say this was all me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I wanted the challenge of starting something myself too, instead of just kind of inheriting it.
Yeah, no, I love that. I think that's great because, I mean, there's something beautiful about, like one business passed down in the family, but there's also something equally great about, as you said, everyone being able to put their own stamp on it in, the same industry, but you each have your own individual, achievements there.
Yes, exactly.
I love that.
Yep.
Love that. Okay, so you started your company in your garage. And where are you today? Like, how has your company grown?
So it started in the garage. I did that for a couple years, and there was an automotive shop in town that I did transmission work for. So he had an available stall and kind of like a little clean room area that I could use. So we worked out a deal that I could come in there and I no longer had to work from home.
Okay, nice.
So that kind of helped separate my personal life from the business too. A little bit. Having a company in your house it's a little different. It's something you got to get used to.
Yeah.
But so yeah, I started we moved into the shop that we have now with one bay and just myself as the builder. It was just me doing the removals, the installs, the customers, everything. And then today we are a 5-bay transmission shop.
Wow,
So
that's fantastic.
It's making its way up.
For sure.
Yeah.
That's excellent. So, in that time, I mean, being a business owner is tough no matter what, but you started on your own. What have been the greatest obstacles you've had to overcome during this time?
My greatest obstacles, I would say for sure, like the number one obstacle was starting the business from the ground up.
Okay.
That was one of the bigger obstacles. I would say the second biggest obstacle was trying to kind of figure out how to manage my time as a business owner and also a family man. So that has been one of the biggest struggles of trying to keep it so it's equal. And when I first launched the company, I mean, I was 12, 14-hour days, 6-7 days a week, and I did that for quite a few years straight.
Wow.
So that was actually one of my biggest struggles. And looking back now at that, it wasn't a struggle in the moment, but I can look back and see how it kind of affected me a little bit.
Right.
And
so what? I mean, how did you change that? How did you stop? Working like the 12, 14-hour days there.
I had to learn how to say no sometimes.
Okay.
I'm one of those people that, running my cell phone off of my personal cell phone was my business phone.
Yep.
And I had a really hard time telling people no. I wanted to be able to help everybody that I could possibly help. It got to the point where I got busy enough to where I had enough business that I could no longer do that. And I had to tell myself, like, this isn't working anymore, so I have to make a change. It was all positive, but it's almost like it grew a little faster than I thought it would.
Yeah. And, I'm sure as much headache sometimes as it can be bringing on other people to help, I'm sure, having additional employees for you probably helped in that regard too.
Definitely. I had a lot of things that I had to get over trying to hire people because I was doing everything by myself, so I knew everything was the way I wanted it. So yeah, a couple years in, I did hire someone to start helping me with the removal and installations of the transmissions.
Yeah.
So that changed me a lot as far as a person even having an employee. That's a big adjustment for a business owner if you're not used to having an employee. So I had to learn communication skills with him to keep things rolling smoothly. All of that kind of business associated stuff.
Yeah.
So that was another challenge, and I feel like being a business owner, the challenges don't stop.
Absolutely.
They just keep coming.
Yeah, yeah, very true. All right, well, maybe on a more fun note here, what's your favorite part of your job?
My favorite part. Again, there's something about the challenge to me that I enjoy. So starting a transmission from coming in on my bench, thoroughly inspecting it, going through everything, cleaning everything, putting it back together, and putting it in the car and going for the drive, and feeling the reward of all the hard work I just did. That is one of the favorite parts of my job. Now, sometimes that doesn't always go that way. Sometimes they have to have adjustments or whatever, but at the end of the day, I know I've done my best, and I feel really good saying I know I did my best, and my quality of work shows that.
That's awesome.
And the other part I like is when the customer gets to actually enjoy what they've gotten, because most of my transmissions are more specialty.
Yeah.
You know, where you go into a regular transmission shop, goes in, obviously the transmission was working fine before something happened, it comes back, it works the same. A lot of times with what I do, they don't work the same when I'm done. I've made changes, I've done programming changes, or hydraulic calibration changes. So it's kind of nice to get other people's feedback on what you do.
Yeah.
Also.
Yeah.
Especially when you stick so much into it.
Absolutely.
So that reward is worth all the hard work.
Nice, nice. Is there like a particular, vehicle models, transmission that you prefer to work on, or?
My performance company started in the earlier 2000s based on front-wheel drive 4T65E transmissions, which nobody around my area was really doing.
Okay.
That market blew up pretty fast with the supercharged engines, and people were modifying them and changing ratios. And so I was like one of the only people around the Twin Cities area that was doing these custom things for people.
Okay.
And that's kind of what sucked me into it, because people bring me their car because it's fun. With your average transmission, people aren't looking forward to coming in and seeing you.
Yeah.
Because it's going to cost a lot of money
Right,
generally.
right.
But another part of that is sometimes I've been able to fix cars for people where they don't need an entire transmission replacement.
Oh yeah.
Because of the knowledge I have, where if it went into like a general repair shop, it would just get diagnosed as a bad transmission. We dig a little deeper, do a little more testing. If it's something that can be fixed in the vehicle, I definitely try that first.
Okay.
Just because I know what it's like to be on the other side of that, and I try to picture as if I was the consumer.
We've talked a lot about, the legacy of your grandfather and your father. How about your legacy? What would you like to leave behind?
I would like to be very similar to them. Good reputation, friendly area, all the positive things. I would like to be known for the custom stuff that we do, and I feel like making those friendships with a lot of my customers and working in hand with them. I want just people to remember that I was a helpful person and always went out of my way for them, because I've spent a lot of my life putting into this industry, and it'll be nice to take a little bit of it away when I'm done and look back and go, I did the best I possibly could with what I had. And, I would like to keep the company obviously up and running. So even when I retire, my son, he's only 8 right now, but he's seriously interested in the car scene.
Nice.
So, there's a good possibility there could be a 4th generation up and coming.
Love it.
And I would like to be able to hand him over the shop and, if he's willing, but at least take him under my wing when I can, and let him kind of figure out where he would like to go, because I would like for him to have his own legacy afterwards too. So I would just like to keep it rolling.
Chris Harmon's journey from apprentice to business owner is a testament to perseverance. Building his own shop meant overcoming financial hurdles, adapting to an ever-changing industry, and earning the trust of customers one transmission at a time. Today, Harmon Performance Transmission stands as proof of his hard work and dedication. Ideally, Chris will pass on his knowledge to the 4th generation of transmission builders in his family, yet the issues Chris faces now will impact those very same builders in the future. Join us next time to learn what issues Chris sees in the industry and how he thinks we should fix them. Okay, Chris, we're going to play a little game called B-Sides to get to know you better. Okay. I'm going to give you a series of choices, and you tell us which ones you prefer. Ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Let's start with some general questions. Dogs or cats?
Is both an option?
I guess we can allow that.
That's a hard one. I like them both.
Okay. Go to the beach or go to a water park?
Beach.
Beach, okay.
Most definitely.
Go to a drag race or a car show?
I'd like to say both again, but the drag racing is definitely where I'm at.
Okay. Classic cars or modern sports cars?
This is tough because I enjoy both very much.
If you have to choose one.
I would have to say the older is where my heart's at.
Okay. Let's go with 1960s Buick Skylark or 1980s Buick Grand National?
So you got me there because my very first car was a 62 Buick Skylark. As a 12-year-old kid, that was my first car. And my dream car nowadays is a Grand National Buick. So I'd still have to go with the Grand National for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Chill at home or go camping with the family?
I like both of those things a lot. I enjoy a lot of time being at home, so I like camping too, but I would say I'm more of a stay-at-home person.
Very good.
Yeah.
Days of Thunder or The Hangover?
These are really hard questions. Because Days of Thunder is one of my favorite movies, and The Hangover obviously was a great movie, so I still got to go Days of Thunder.
Okay. Video games or bowling?
That's also hard because bowling, I used to do alone. The video games, I do more with my son, so I'd have to say video games.
Okay. PlayStation or Nintendo?
PlayStation, 100%.
Okay. Shooter games or fighting games?
Kind of a balance of both, but I would say I would rather do a shooting game.
Okay. RPGs or simulation games?
Probably more simulation.
Okay. Racing games or puzzle games?
Racing all the way.
I would agree with that. I love me some Mario Kart.
Absolutely.
Except even though that's Nintendo and not PlayStation.
That's okay. You can kind of get a lot of the Nintendo games on the PlayStation now. So,
okay,
yeah.
Very good. All right, well, this is Vehicle Care Rockstars, so let's move on to your musical tastes. Classic country or modern country?
Classic country all the way.
Okay. Rock or pop?
Rock.
Okay. Alternative or metal?
Alternative.
Country or rock?
Can I do both again? I kind of like them both equally.
Okay. Blake Shelton or Jamie Johnson?
Man, you're really good at these questions. I've seen Jamie Johnson in concert. Never seen Blake Shelton. So both very good artists. I would still have to go with Jamie Johnson.
Okay. Nirvana or Foo Fighters?
So they're kind of connected a little bit because of the drummer, I think, was the lead singer for Foo Fighters, right? If I remember right. But Nirvana was my childhood go-to CD all the time.
All right. Would you go to a Taylor Swift concert?
Absolutely not.
All right.
No offense. Nothing against Taylor. It's just not my style.
Yeah, no worries.
I would take my children to one, though, if they wanted to go.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Take the sacrifice there.
Yeah.
First concert you attended?
My very first concert was, they do something at Float Ray Park in Somerset. It's called X Fest, where it's kind of like they bring all the bands in for a weekend. 7th grade, I went to one of those very first time. So that was my very first in-person concert was X Fest.
Okay. Last concert you attended?
Last concert was Jamie Johnson.
Best concert you attended?
Probably Jamie Johnson. He does a really good job.
Okay.
I really enjoyed his venue.
Excellent. Well, Chris, you're a rock star.
Thank you.